Here I am in pod 2 with the lovely Shaky Jake people.
Honest William.
Yeah. What's worse than one William?
2 Williams.
Exactly. So, will be in the other bit of feedback, but just to try and cast your minds back to what we did before you did the 2 gigs. Can you remember what lesson? There was a specific lesson that I gave.
We had to prepare for it, and we had to write out stage plans and stuff.
Stage plans, what else? So you're on the right path.
Set list, and we had targets and stuff of what we wanted to do.
But there was something practical you did.
Oh, street performing, right? No.
Genre mix up.
Okay.
Something.
Stage presence.
Oh,
I got you all up on stage performing.
Oh yeah. We all
your songs.
stood
Yeah.
up,
So brilliant. Camera. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You picked that up.
Yeah.
Great. Okay.
stage presence.
So stage presence. What I want to focus on is, and I've had a very similar conversation with the pod next door, is all of you guys have hit the ground running writing songs, really good songs. Your what's it called?
Crush.
First song, Crush. Absolute earworm, fantastic, really, really good. Over half term, I just kept waking up and it was in my head. Great. And that's testament to you guys. You're forming the ideas really well. So the creative and the songwriting side of things, you've already hit the ground running. I think the idea of you doing a gig, the last week in November, you would just laugh at the prospect of doing 15 minutes. It's like, whoa, that's no problem. So I want to set you a bit of a challenge of trying to do that gig with perhaps only one of the songs you've got currently. Yeah? So it's showcasing even more material. You don't have to, but
we can get 2 songs done by then.
Yeah, why I've set that challenge is so you don't become a bit complacent and then think, okay, we don't have to write anything else until January. And then suddenly you start panicking, because let's not forget the EP launch, you've got to record the material, etc., etc. Now, a compliment I gave you the other day, Will, is when you were recording, I said to Kira, and she couldn't lip read, or my lips weren't working as they should have been.
Yeah, I was like, what?
But the point I was making is that you're extremely well rehearsed. You just played that effortlessly. You knew it like the back of your hand. That's the best time to record, without a shadow of a doubt. So if you've done that, then let's leave it. It's mission accomplished, isn't it? As far as working the parts out. However, the thing I want you to work on is the stage presence, yeah? With that, I set you, if you remember, I think I definitely had a word with everybody on the course over a couple of days, and as usual, my voice is ragged. It was focusing on certain individuals doing certain things within the song. Some are more confident than others. Certainly Kira is absolutely part of what she does. You would find it more difficult if I said don't move.
Oh my god, it would be so hard.
It would be really difficult. It's like, don't move your arms, don't move your legs. You would find that really, really difficult. So what the challenge that I was looking to set, and coming up with ideas and suggestions, and what I was interested in is to see if you were looking for that, or if you're looking at how well you played the guitar or sang or played keys. Were you looking at that when you watched back the videos?
What do you mean?
You've watched back the videos, since, Were you looking for that and see, oh yeah, I tried that movement, and yeah, it did look better when we did this or we did that.
Yeah.
The point I'm making is, it's one thing writing good material, it's another thing obviously playing it well, executing your parts to a really high standard. But surely the biggest way in which you guys can make money in the music industry, especially being a young band, will be being booked for performances. You'll be booked on the basis of those 2 things are a given, yeah? Third thing, how entertaining are you, and how much of an audience can you bring in to be able to watch those performances back, yeah? So looking at those elements, what I want you to be able to do on a weekly basis will be to get up on that stage as regular as possible. Something I mentioned at pod 1, you have the luxury, well, it's not exactly luxury in here, but to be able to see what you're playing. I've got eye contact with all of you guys. It's very easy. It's well lit, etc., etc. Or the amps are angled in. Everybody can hear what you're doing in a rehearsal environment, which is as it should be. However, when you translate that onto a stage, suddenly, Will, you're over one side. You might not be able to see Anya. Bryce is at the back. Bryce then might be reliant on cues from Kira, but suddenly he's looking at the back of Kira rather than be able to have that eye contact unless she turns around. That is one problem. The second problem then comes with monitoring. Yeah. Can you hear everybody? Can you hear all those parts being played? Third thing as well, linked with visual, is a stage. There's lots of lighting. It could be dimly lit at places. So knowing your parts really well is essential. Not having to rely on cues from other people because you're so well rehearsed and well drilled. The mistake a lot of bands make, I mean, I've invited you to sit down now, but is getting very comfortable in a rehearsal space where suddenly you don't really know what to do when you get up on stage. You haven't really given that a great deal of thought. Most bands are guilty of this, yeah? So what I want to be able to do is lay down the kind of the gauntlet or the challenge for you guys to put as much work into that stage presence and your stage show as you put into the songwriting and the actual playing and executing of the parts and recording them. Look at it on that same level, because trust me guys, you know, if you have a promoter looking at you, you've got people that want to come along and see your show, that will be the difference between whether you get the booking or another band who haven't really given it much thought. I'll give you an example. It's a genuine example. Is Jake Pell from the O2 came up to me while I was doing the assessment for Shortwave. I was writing a load of notes on my phone at the time. I remember the conversation so clearly. He said, "Oh, Nick, really sorry to disturb you. I know you're really busy, but I just want to say how brilliant these bands are." And there were things he pointed out. I remember, and it was in this particular order. He said to me, "They've got great songs. They're all really good musicians," and he said, "and they look great. Their stage movement and their image," and he said they just look like a pro band. And it was particularly Shortwave who were on at that time, but he mentioned that about the majority of the bands that are on that evening. Yeah, and to be perfectly honest, at that time I didn't put in, you know, half as much or spend half as much time on the stage movement as I want to do with you guys. So I know that that is a massive selling point, and this is why I keep bringing it up in classroom lessons, etc., etc., is that image, identity, movement. If you want people to come to your shows, they want to remember having a great time. They want to remember how the buzz that they got. Now, although Bryce is sitting at the back, and often he will be sort of hidden from the audience, you've got a brilliant position there where as soon as Kira, and she's on the move all the time, you look at the audience and you can see how they're being the reaction from them to what your bandmates are doing. It's limited what you can do behind the kit. We've discussed this before. You're kind of, I don't know, it's like a big frame around you and you're seated, and so it's very difficult for you to be overly animated. But what's really interesting, and this is something that I'll have a conversation with a lot of drummers about, is how that affects the audience, what your band members are doing, the interaction between you. As I say, knowing your parts so well that it doesn't matter, Anya, if you don't hear Will's intro bit on the guitar, you know, because you've heard Bryce's count in when you're coming in. It's not, oh, I really fluffed up because we couldn't hear ourselves very well or whatever. Let's get it to a point where you're so well rehearsed it becomes just part of that fabric. Yeah, I think, Will, you know, you've proven that clearly with the guitar you've come in as a guitarist, but you've been the front man rapping as well. Should be no problem there. Anya, you've also provided lead vocal without any keyboard or anything else before in the first year, so there shouldn't be any concerns about what you're doing on stage. And Kira, as I say, it'd be more difficult to stop you from moving. I mean, clearly you love it up there and you can sense that. And I think when the audience are watching a performance, that again, that simple psychology within it. If you see the band looking like they're having a great time, you want to have a great time too. So you're really on point, great songs, really good delivery. You are compromised by only having band members when you can, but I've laid down the challenge. I mentioned Akira yesterday. How about you guys get together, you don't do maths or English, if you work out another strategy where you can rehearse an extra time when those guys are available, instead of this awful let's borrow Will now scenario. Let's see if you can kind of puzzle that through, and if it means staying a bit later, maybe the odd day coming in or whatever, then make it work so you do have the same allocation of time. But are there things that you felt could have gone better at the gig? Were there things that you walked off thinking, wish we could have improved upon this, or what was the kind of thing that you were left with?
For my personal performance, I know, listening back to it, at the start I was quite nervous, but I sort of like hit it, and then as the halfway through the first song I was fine. And I really enjoyed it. But yeah, for the start,
so perhaps like the breathing, maybe compromised by nerves, that sort of thing. You think maybe with the projection?
Yeah, I mean, it didn't come across that way on the video.
I had no idea you were nervous at all, which is the sign of a really good performer. You know, if you can disguise that, then great. But often as a vocalist, and I'm sure Whitney will agree with me, that you get over the first couple of lines of the song, or you certainly get the first verse out of the way, then the nerves can settle. And it's often down to the audience reaction as well. If you appear nervous, you're not moving, they look as apprehensive as you do, because once again, that simple psychology of mirroring what is kind of in front of you. But yeah, anything you can think of, Will, that...
There was actually, to be fair, there's probably like two things, and it was the first song we played. After I watched the footage back, I thought it just sounded really repetitive, and like, I didn't really think there was a lot of like contrast between the verses and the choruses.
Okay, cool.
So one thing we did before we went street performing, you know, we had that like hour to rehearse, was like, instead of just playing the verse like this, oh shit, my head's not. It doesn't really matter. Basically, to just sort of create more like dynamics in the song.
Yeah,
we just
definitely
slowed down the verse a little bit, and instead of just strumming big bar chords, I'm now like individually picking the notes. And then when it comes to the little bridge part, like I sort of let the strings and the chords like ring out a bit more. But that was just to sort of break up the song a bit.
See, when you think about it though, the dynamics are really magnified when you go out and there's a big sound system. So soon as the bass is that, you know, the kick drum, it occupies so much space, especially when you play somewhere like at the O2. You could probably get away with not playing anything, bringing something in, some subtleties, and when you do play. So that's another consideration of why I want to get you out on the stage regularly, because I think I just want to iron out any of those eventualities, and I want to get it to the point where you are extremely well rehearsed in your stage presence and movement. You know what you're going to do on certain parts of the song, and you do it each time you do it. Then it gets to a point, I may take you out of your comfort zone a little bit. I don't think it'll be necessarily with Kira. I think you'll be sort of up for, you know, okay, let's try this. But there's certainly a lot of vocalists who will be, oh no, I don't want to have to use my hand to gesture, or do I have to really walk up and down the stage? I just want to stand and hide behind the mic stand. But I think, you know, you guys being open to suggestion, but coming up with your own ideas of what you think could work, what you notice with other artists, you know, particularly people you want to emulate a little bit more. Look at their performances and what can you kind of borrow a little bit and factor in to yours, and less video it regularly. You watch it back and go, oh, maybe that was a bit over the top. Oh, that looked good when I did this, and really scrutinize it. It'll get to the point then when you go to the O2, it won't be, oh God, we're going onto this big stage and what do I do, and etc., etc. You will have your rehearsal plan and strategy covering your songs will be down, the parts you play, and your movement will all be rehearsed.
I
Yeah.
think it would be cool if we did do sort of like a slow song where I could just stand still.
Yeah, yeah.
Because then it would really like.
To be honest, that can be equally dramatic, because what it does, it provides attention to a particular area. Things like lighting as well. Let's say all the lights were down apart from one spotlight on you and you're not moving. The emphasis could be on your facial movement. If you look at a video that Beyonce did, it's a live version of Irreplaceable. It's magnificent. She's sitting on a stool. Yeah, come on, Emma. She's sitting on a stool. Therefore, she's not moving her legs. One hand is on the mic, so she only has one hand to gesture with, but it's all about her facial expressions, her disapproval of the relationship and this guy and how she's kicking this guy out of her life. So she's telling the story with her expression, and that can be really, really effective. And I think you could be really good at that as well. So, Will, we've just been... Are you in the shop? He's not. He's there. That's Will. So let's... Basically, in a nutshell, Will, what we want to do is have the songwriting, the playing and the forming of those parts and the learning of the parts that go into those songs on point. But the third thing to be on point is all the stage movement and what you then do for the performance, so it's ready for the O2. But there's some really, really good stuff, and again, your ears should have been burning. You know, the actual the way in which you've played. You'll get the feedback from the other students as well, and lots of people have voted you as their favourite band. Loads of great comments for. I mean, in fact, you're going to have a field day, because I think definitely this band and Novocaine, blimey, so many people have cited you as a favourite band, which is brilliant. So, but you probably listed both. That's probably what it is.
What's that?
You probably listed both bands because you're in them both.
No, I didn't. I listed the Chess Club